Greetings, everybody, and today let's talk about Novocaine. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe and leave a like on the video. It really helps a lot. Without further ado, let's jump into Novocaine. So for Novocaine, I didn't really expect good things with this film, and my goal this time around is to try and branch out other genres outside of blockbuster IPs and franchises. So I've decided to try out this film, and after hearing good things on it, well, it turns out this movie did not end up giving me total pain. And by that, I mean this movie had an interesting premise that I really liked after looking it over, and I actually had a fun time with this film overall. And so the premise of this movie, you have Nathan Cain, who is the main character in this film, who can't experience any sort of pain that I find it really intriguing that goes along for a nice ride full of comedy, action, and got some rom-com elements that touch this movie's tone that doesn't take itself too serious like every other action movie out there. And the funny thing I noticed in this movie as time goes with Nathan Cain, who not only can't experience pain as time goes, but he can't eat anything during his moments. And I'm like, oh. So the moment he said that, I'm like, it really doesn't make sense how he can't eat and how he's grown to be a person outside of like what he does. So I'm like, whatever. I just went with this movie overall. And then it's really interesting how this premise goes as this movie is. It's like this man is some sort of a superhero. That the way you look at Nathan Cain in this movie, he's definitely like a superhero, some kind of Superman humanoid form or something that I kind of find it intriguingly interesting. It's almost like John Wick, who almost can't experience most of the pain. But overall, I mean, Nathan Cain is something a lot more special than how John Wick is. And there's a lot of fun stuff to this character as well as time goes. But Nathan Cain, with this premise, I thought is a really interesting hook to this movie of why I find it really interesting. The set action pieces and shots of this movie were amazing, and it got some very good cinematography that straps you in a high adrenaline way that was simply fun to watch. And I can tell you this whole movie may be a John Wick-esque film that gives you that. But as I previously mentioned, the premise does seem a lot different, and it's simply because it follows Nathan Cain rescuing his love interest, Sherry, who is one of the main characters played by Amber Midthunder. And now straight to the casting at first. Gotta give my credit to Jack Quaid, who not only did a good job with this performance, but honestly, he delivered a brilliant action stunts that was fun, yet funny at the same time during his dialogue in the movie, and it was charming at the same time, who also had a very good chemistry with Amber Midthunder, who plays the love interest, and I also enjoyed her chemistry. And while the support cast aren't strong, I do love Jacob Batalon, who also serves a great support decent to this film, and the support characters outside the main ones aren't huge as the pacing goes, and for what I like at least about the characters, it does provide some emotional beats with Nathan's character as well as he interacts with some of the characters like Jacob Batalon's character and Sherry as well. And the characters overall seem to be all right. As someone who really loves character development and chemistry, I thought the characters in this movie outside of supports were like the big ones that were enjoyable. You got Jack Quaid, like I said, Amber Midthunder, and Jacob Batalon that really supports most of the characteristics and a lot to this movie that were enough to like enjoy and enough to like understand these relationships, which I really like about it as much. But back to Jack Quaid real quick. I simply can't get enough of him, who is one of the young talents growing as he got into other movies such as Scream 5, Oppenheimer, and while he did have a movie called Companion that came out a couple months ago, he got two back-to-back movies this year with that and Novocaine, which is really good for him to keep up his talents, and not just that, it develops stardom as well. While he may not be a butts-in-the-seats guy like Glenn Powell, he is starting to get the top of his game with the roles that he's been given, and it's pretty nice to see him throughout in other genres that we'll hopefully get to see throughout his career. And I think Jack Quaid does a great job, like I said, who delivered the stunts in this movie that he was able to deliver, and some of the moments, let's say the Peter Parker dialogue he was given to play some of the parts in the movie, I thought it was very Parker-esque in this movie. So find it pretty interesting that Jack Quaid's got charming. So at least there's that, and I thought it was really intriguing to see what Jack Quaid can do with his roles like that. So now as weaknesses goes, the first 20-25 minutes does go on a rough start as goes on to Nathan Cain's story as it goes, but then he meets Sherry, which I will say, like I previously stated, they both had good chemistry and their character development relationships were interesting. But then that feeling and that chemistry does get lost in the shuffle as the pacing goes, as the plot goes. So that did get lost in the shuffle that we would expect to see some rom-com elements, but that were only just in the beginning. And you also, like I previously mentioned, you have support characters outside of the main ones that weren't serious at times, or strong. But It is how it is, and I guess that's how it pretty much goes to these characters. But like I said, I think the three ones were Jack Quaid, Amber Mid Thunder, and Jacob Batalon. I think those were the big ones in this movie that had a strong suit. And the third act, finally, it's not as terrible or it's not as really problematic, but it doesn't really pinpoint where it starts. It just jumps straight into it as time goes. So I just went with how this movie is. But overall, it didn't really bother me as experience goes. I was able to enjoy a lot of the third act, and it does provide a little long action. So it was enjoyable from start to finish, and it was pretty much said and done. But overall, Novocaine did enough for me to actually enjoy the ride while not feeling any major pain, as it provides charming action and comedy that provide entertainment values for a blast. And Jack Quaid and Amber Mid Thunder were both great, but unfortunately, the chemistry and all that rom-com elements I was hoping for did got lost in the shovel as time goes with the plot. But the concept was enough for actually me to be hooked with, as the main character does not feel any pain, and it's enough for me to enjoy the ride. For my rating of this movie, I will give it an 8 out of 10 and 3.5 stars. And I do recommend this movie enough for action fans, Jack Quaid fans. Overall, it's not a John Wick film. It's not a perfect film by any means. But I think it's solid enough for entertainment value that I think you'll be suited up for. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comment section below if you have seen Novocaine. Let me know how you feel with this movie overall and what you think of it. If you also enjoyed the video, hit that like button. And most importantly, I want each and one of you all to stay safe and stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.